The stars burned cold and distant in the black sea of space. A small alien patrol ship drifted quietly, its sensors sweeping the void for signals. For weeks they had found nothing but silence, until tonight. A faint beacon pulsed across the darkness, weak, dying, a human distress signal. The crew of the Valen's Hope froze. Humans. Everyone in the galaxy knew the legends. Ruthless, unbreakable survivors of wars that had shattered entire empires. Yet humans had vanished generations ago, their homeworld destroyed, their colonies erased. No one had seen them in centuries. And now a single pod floated before them, whispering for help. The captain, Reinar, stood tall at the command deck. His scales glistened under the pale lights. He had fought many battles, but the thought of touching human history chilled him. He glanced at his crew. Fear reflected in every eye. No one wanted to open that pod. No one wanted to invite the curse of humanity back into their lives. Yet the signal would not fade. It pulsed like a heartbeat, calling, waiting. Reinar spoke, his voice low and commanding. "Bring it aboard." The crew hesitated, but orders were orders. Mechanical arms reached into the void and pulled the pod into the airlock. The doors hissed, and a cold mist spread across the bay. Inside the pod lay a human, pale, thin, barely breathing. Tubes and cracked glass surrounded him. His chest rose in shallow gasps, as though life itself was fighting to remain inside him. Silence filled the ship. The crew gathered around, their faces tense. No one spoke until the medic scanned the body. "He is alive," the medic whispered. "But only just." The words hung heavy in the air. A living human. The crew stepped back as if the body might leap up and destroy them all. Stories told of humans fighting without ships, without weapons, surviving even when entire worlds burned. To see one alive was like staring at a storm held inside a fragile shell. Reinar's mind raced. If they saved him, what would happen? If they let him die, would the galaxy ever know? He looked down at the human's face. It was scarred, eyes sunken, hair matted from years of stasis. Yet there was something defiant even in his weakness, something that whispered, "This is not the end." The medic worked quickly, stabilizing him with injections and oxygen. The human stirred, groaning softly. His lips cracked as they tried to form words. The crew leaned closer, drawn by something they did not understand. Then he spoke. His voice was faint, but sharp enough to cut through their fear. "If you save one of us, we all come back." Every alien in the bay stiffened. The human's eyes fluttered open for a moment, glimmering with a strange fire. Then he collapsed back into unconsciousness. The silence was unbearable. The words echoed inside every mind. What did he mean? Was it a threat? A promise? A warning? Reinar clenched his jaw. He had commanded for years, but nothing had ever unsettled him like this. He turned to his crew. "Keep him alive!" The medic nodded nervously and wheeled the human toward the infirmary. The rest of the crew scattered, their whispers filling the halls. "If you save one of us, we all come back." The phrase haunted them. Days passed, but the human did not die. His body healed with unnatural speed, bones knitting, strength returning. At night, the crew swore they heard him speaking in his sleep. Words they could not understand, names, places, promises. The ship itself seemed uneasy. Lights flickered. Sensors picked up strange interference, as though the presence of one human had disturbed the fabric of space around them. Then, on the seventh day, the human awoke. He sat up slowly, eyes scanning the alien chamber. The crew gathered again, holding their breath. He looked weak, but there was nothing weak in his stare. His gaze burned into each of them, measuring, judging, as though he already knew their fears. Reinar stepped forward, speaking carefully. "You were found drifting in a pod. You are safe now. Tell us who you are." The human's lips curled into something between a smile and a grimace. "My name does not matter. What matters is that you chose to save me. Do you know what that means?" No one answered. The human leaned forward, his voice a low growl. "It means humanity knows. It means they are coming." The words struck the crew like a blade. They shifted uneasily, tails twitching, claws scraping. The medic whispered, "But humanity is gone. The war ended long ago. Earth is dust." The human shook his head. Earth may be dust, but humanity is never gone. One survives and all return. That is the law of our kind. The crew stared at him, fear crawling through their veins. Was it madness or prophecy? Renard forced his voice to remain steady. And what will humanity do? When they come, the humans' eyes gleamed like fire in the dark. They will remember your mercy. They will remember that you saved one. And for that you may be spared, the crew recoiled. The words were not gratitude. They were judgment. Alarms suddenly blared. The ship's sensors lit up with strange signals from the edge of the system. Faint repeating bursts of coded language. Ancient. Human. The crew turned to Reinar, panic rising. It cannot be. Humans are gone. This is impossible. But the signals grew louder, stronger, rhythmic, like a war drum echoing across the stars. The human closed his eyes, breathing deeply as though savoring the sound. When he opened them, the fire in his gaze had only grown stronger. They heard me. They know I am alive. Now they are coming. Fear spread across the ship like wildfire. The alien crew whispered in dark corners, afraid to speak too loudly in case the human overheard. Some wanted to throw him back into space, end the threat before it grew. Others believed touching him again would only seal their fate. Reinar could not sleep. His thoughts twisted with questions. What if the humans spoke truth? What if saving one had truly awakened them all? He remembered the old war reports, humans fighting until the last breath, humans never surrendering, humans building weapons no other species could match. Entire fleets had vanished when humans fought together. If they were returning, no empire would stand. The human moved through the infirmary like a predator recovering from a wound. Every day he grew stronger. His voice carried more weight. His words spread like poison through the crew. One night, Reinar found him standing by the window, staring at the stars. "You fear me," the human said without turning. Reinar's throat tightened. "I fear what follows you." The human's reflection in the glass smiled faintly. "Good, fear is wise. But remember this, Captain. You did not let me die. When they come, that choice will matter more than anything." Reinar could not answer. The stars outside seemed colder, sharper, as though they were watching too. The hook had been set. A single human had been saved. Now the galaxy would learn the cost. He had spoken only once when he first awoke, but those words would not leave them. "If you save one of us, we all come back." The sentence rang inside their heads like a curse. What if it was true? What if mercy had awakened a storm? Captain Reinar stood alone in the command chamber, staring at the pulsing signals their sensors had caught. They were faint, rhythmic, coded in an old human language the machines struggled to decode. The galaxy believed humanity was dust. Yet here, in the silence of space, something human was moving again. The rescued survivor lay in the infirmary below, weak in body but strong in presence. The crew avoided him, but they could not stop listening to him. Every whisper, every word carried weight. The human's recovery was unnatural. Only days ago he was a ghost clinging to life. Now he sat upright, his muscles regaining strength, his eyes sharper. He ate little, but he absorbed every detail of the ship. The aliens felt his gaze on them like a knife pressed against the skin. Medic Vera tended to him daily, her hands shaking despite her training. On the 7th morning, she entered the infirmary to find him awake, staring at the ceiling. His voice cut the silence. "You hear it, don't you?" Vera froze. "Hear what?" "The signal. It reaches even here. That is why your ship shakes at night." Vera's throat tightened. She had not told him of the signal. None of the crew had. Yet he knew. He turned his head slowly, locking eyes with her. His voice was calm but heavy. "They are calling me back. And when they arrive, they will not ask questions. They will remember who gave me air when I was drowning in the void." Vera left the room trembling. Later, Reinar entered. He stood over the bed, tall and broad, his scaled face carved in stone. He had commanded armies, but now he felt as if he were standing before a storm. "You speak of your kind as if they are already near," Reinar said. The human nodded. "They are closer than you think. One heartbeat reaches another. One signal wakes the rest. That is how we survive. You believe us gone because you destroyed our worlds. But we are not built from worlds. We are built from fire." His eyes burned with an intensity that made Rinar take a step back. "You speak in riddles," the captain growled. The humans smiled faintly. "Not riddles, warnings." That night the crew gathered in the mess hall, fear pressing against every wall. The engineer hissed, his claws scraping the table. "We must get rid of him. Throw him back into the void. Before his kind arrives," others agreed. "If the stories are true, we are doomed." But Vera shook her head. "Do you not understand? If they are coming, killing him seals our fate. He is the reason they will look at us with mercy." Rinar listened, silent, letting the storm of voices rise. He saw the terror in their eyes. They were warriors, but against the legend of humans, courage turned to dust. At last, he raised his hand. "No harm will come to him. We made a choice when we opened that pod. That choice is our shield now. We will stand by it." The crew fell silent, but their fear remained. As days passed, the human began to speak more often. Not loudly, never in speeches, always in fragments. Whispers that crawled into the ears of anyone who listened. "They broke our bones, but never our will. One seed is enough to grow a forest again. We never die. We wait." The aliens pretended not to hear, but at night those words echoed in their minds. And they dreamed of human eyes staring through flames, of vast fleets rising from the dark. And each morning the survivor grew stronger. His muscles thickened. His skin regained color. The hollow ghost was becoming whole again. The dream one night, Rinar dreamed. In his dream, the stars themselves shifted. Ships unlike any he had seen moved through the dark. Black hulls, silent engines, like shadows given form. At their center stood a figure, human, unyielding. His voice thundered across the void. "You saved one of us. That is the reason you still breathe." Rinar awoke drenched in sweat, his chest tight. He left his quarters and walked the silent halls. Every door seemed to whisper the same phrase. "If you save one of us, we all come back." The proof on the 15th day. The ship's sensors lit up again. Stronger signals now. The codes grew clearer. The machines translated fragments. Human survives. Coordinates locked, awakening protocols. The crew froze at the words glowing on the screens. They turned to Rinar in terror. "It is true," the navigator whispered. "They are returning." Before panic could spread, the door to the command chamber opened. The human stepped in, supported by Vera. He was thin still, but he carried himself with power. His eyes locked on the glowing words. "They have heard me," he said simply. The crew stepped back, every instinct screaming to run. Rinar forced his voice steady. "What will they do when they arrive?" The human looked at him. "They will decide who lives and who does not. But you," his gaze swept across the crew, "you are not their enemy. You gave me breath. That makes you part of the memory. Do not fear what is coming. Fear only being counted among those who let us die." The room shook with silence. The tension rises. From that moment, the ship was no longer just a vessel. It was a waiting room for judgment. Every passing hour carried weight. The crew watched the stars with dread, expecting shadows to move. Some whispered of abandoning the human on a desolate moon, hiding from his kind forever. Others clung to the belief that their act of mercy would protect them, but none could deny it now. Humanity was stirring, and their survivor, the forgotten soul they had rescued, was no longer weak. He was the spark. Final suspense, late one cycle, the human stood once more at the viewing window. His reflection stared back at him, sharp and cold. Behind him, Rinar entered quietly. "They hate you," Rinar said. The human's lips curved slightly. "Good. Hate is easier than ignorance. Hate means they believe. Soon they will not only believe. They will see," Reinar's jaw tightened. "And when they see what happens to us," the human turned, his eyes burning like twin stars. "That depends on how well you listen to the whispers." The night sky was no longer silent. Every sensor on the Velan's Hope screamed with warnings. Strange signals hammered the ship from the edge of the system, pulsing in steady waves. They were not random. They were not natural. They were coded. They were human. The crew stared at the glowing screens in disbelief. For generations, the galaxy had whispered that humanity was gone. Yet here, in this forgotten corner of space, their voices rose again, and the survivor they had rescued only smiled. The crew, in panic, Captain Reinar gripped the rail of the command chamber, his scaled knuckles pale with tension. His crew scrambled across consoles, their tails whipping, claws clicking on metal floors. Every pair of eyes showed fear. "They are closing in," the navigator cried. "Not ships, not yet, but something is moving behind the signals." Energy spikes. Echoes of engines, the engineer hissed. "We must flee before they arrive. If we stay here, we will be the first to die," others shouted in agreement. Panic spread like fire, but Reinar raised his hand, silencing them. His gaze shifted to the human, standing near the viewing window. Pale light washed across his face, but his eyes burned with a strange calm. "You knew this was coming," Reinar said. The human turned slowly, his voice deep and steady. "I told you. One heartbeat awakens the rest. They hear me now. They will not stop until they find me." Whispers turned to promises. The crew recoiled. The medic Vera found courage to speak. "If they are truly coming, what do they want? Will they destroy us?" The human's lips curved faintly. "That depends. They will judge. They will see who gave mercy and who turned away. Those who saved one of us will be remembered. The rest will be dust." A heavy silence followed. Every crew member felt the weight of those words. Mercy had saved them once, but could mercy protect them from the storm of an entire species? The human stepped closer to the consoles, watching the signals pulse like a heartbeat across the screens. His fingers traced the patterns. "This is not just noise. This is a call, a promise. Humanity does not send weak signals. Every code carries purpose." "What do they say?" Reinar asked. The human's eyes gleamed. "They say they are awake. They say they are coming. And they say you are already part of their memory." The debate that night, the crew gathered in the mess hall. Fear poured from every word. "We cannot stay near him," the engineer snarled. "He is a beacon. His kind will come here, and when they arrive they will tear us apart. But what if he speaks truth?" Vera countered. "What if saving him is the only reason we will be spared?" The navigator slammed his tail against the floor. "Spared? Humans do not spare. They conquer. They burn. We should abandon him on the next moon and run as far as our drives will carry us." The crew shouted back and forth until the air grew thick with fear. Finally, Reinar rose, his voice heavy with command. "We cannot change what has begun. If they are coming, running will not save us. Our only hope is to stand by the choice we already made." The crew fell silent. Deep down, they knew the captain was right. But silence brought no comfort. The human speaks the next day. The human asked to speak to the crew directly. They gathered in the infirmary, unsure, their eyes shifting nervously. He stood tall now, no longer the broken figure they had pulled from the pod. His frame carried strength again. His voice filled the room. "You are afraid," he said simply. "That is good. Fear keeps you alive. But listen well. You did not abandon me. You gave me breath. That act will carry across the stars." He paused, letting the weight of silence press down on them. "When my kind arrives, they will ask me one question. Who gave me life when death closed in? And I will answer with your names. That is why you still have a future." The crew shifted, uncertain whether to believe him. His tone carried no kindness, no warmth. It was not gratitude. It was judgment. Strange signs days passed. The signals grew stronger. Strange anomalies began to ripple across the system. Lights flickered inside the ship. Gravity shifted at random. On the third night, the crew swore they saw faint shapes moving among the stars, vast shadows that vanished when sensors turned to scan them. Reinar felt the pressure building. His crew grew restless, some whispering of mutiny. But the human's presence kept them from acting. His eyes followed them everywhere, sharp as blades. One evening he approached Reinar in the command chamber. "You feel it?" he said. Reinar frowned. "Feel what?" "The weight. The pressure. Humanity pressing against the edge of the veil. They are closer every hour. They do not come in silence. They come like a tide, heavy and endless. Reinar's throat tightened. And when the tide reaches us, the human smile was cold. Then the galaxy changes. The first proof on the 20th day, the ship's long-range sensors finally caught it. A single human warship, massive and black, drifted at the edge of the system. No broadcasts, no signals, no lights. Just a silent shadow against the stars. The crew collapsed into terror. Some begged the captain to flee. Others wanted to surrender at once. But the human only stared at the screen with fierce pride. "They have come for me," he whispered. The alien crew could not understand how one half-dead survivor had called such a monster out of the void. Yet there it was. And behind it, more signals followed. Dozens, hundreds. The tide was real fear and division. The crew grew divided. Half believed the human would protect them. Half believed he would be their doom. At night, Reinar walked the halls and heard the whispers. If we kill him, maybe they will not find us. If we run now, maybe they will chase elsewhere. If we keep him, we are chained to his fate. He pressed his claws against the cold metal walls, torn between duty and fear. But when he looked at the human, he saw no weakness, only fire, only certainty. The survivor's warning. That evening, the human stood before the entire crew. His voice carried like a weapon. "You think killing me will save you? You think running will hide you? You are wrong. The moment you pulled me from the void, you tied yourselves to my kind. Humanity already knows your name. That cannot be undone." His eyes cut through them like blades. "When they come, your mercy will be your shield. But if you betray me, your names will be carved into history as traitors. And history has no mercy." Silence filled the ship. None dared to speak. The first human warship arrived in silence, but silence made it worse. It was vast, black as night, shaped like a spear aimed at the stars. It did not broadcast signals. It did not send warnings. It only drifted at the edge of the system, watching. The crew of the Valan's Hope stared at it in horror. No one spoke. No one breathed. That single ship was larger than their entire patrol fleet. Its surface carried scars from ancient battles, yet it looked alive, as though the ship itself waited to strike, and behind it more shadows gathered. Humanity was not returning slowly. Humanity was arriving like a storm. The crew brakes fierce swept across the command chamber. The navigator's hands shook over the controls. The engineer hissed curses. The medic Vera clutched her chest, her eyes wide with panic. "This is not possible," the navigator gasped. "That many ships cannot hide. How did they build such a fleet without the galaxy knowing?" The engineer slammed a claw on the console. "We are fools. We should have left him to die. Now we are caught in the flood." All eyes turned toward the human survivor. He stood near the viewing window, his reflection shining against the black hull outside. His face carried no fear, only a grim pride. "They hid because you wanted to believe we were gone," he said. "You buried us in stories and thought them myths. But we never stopped building, never stopped waiting. We do not die in silence. We rise in silence." The words cut through the crew like blades. The first message, the warship outside, remained still for hours. The crew began to hope it would leave, that maybe it only came to search. Then the lights flickered. Every console on the Valan's Hope went dark. Screens bled with static. A voice boomed across every system, deep and cold. "Human life detected. Coordinates locked." The crew froze. The voice spoke again. "Stand by. The fleet arrives." When the systems returned, the crew turned to the human. His eyes were closed, lips curved into a faint smile. "They have marked me," he whispered. "Now nothing can stop them." Debate of survival panic erupted. The engineer shouted, "We must flee now." "Before they block the system," the navigator shook his head. "It is too late. Their drives outmatch ours. They will catch us before we reach the next star." The medic cried, "Then what do we do? What do they want from us?" The human opened his eyes, fire burning inside them. "They want me, but they will not leave you behind. Your mercy ties you to their judgment. That judgment will fall on this ship." The crew recoiled. "Then we are dead," one muttered. "No," the human said, his voice like iron. "You live because you saved me. That choice shields you. But others will not be so lucky. The words carried no comfort. They were not meant to. Shadows gather within 2 days. The system changed. More human ships appeared at the edges, dozens, then hundreds. They moved in silence, drifting like predators through water. The crew of the Valan's Hope watched them with growing dread. Some ships were small and fast, shaped like blades. Others were massive, city-sized vessels with black hulls that seemed to drink the starlight. Together, they filled the sky with shadows. Rinar stood at the command deck, his chest heavy. He had fought wars before, but never against such presence. This was not an army. This was a force of nature. The human survivor joined him, his voice low. This is the gathering storm. Once they called us scattered. Once they thought us broken. But storms are born from broken skies. Rinar clenched his claws against the railing. And when the storm breaks, the human's eyes flashed. Then the galaxy will learn what it means to save one of us. Alien reactions news spread beyond the system. Long-range channels filled with static and fear. Alien governments argued across the stars. Some called the signals fakes. Some demanded war fleets to prepare for human invasion. Others fell into silence, too afraid to answer. The crew listened to the chatter with unease. Entire empires debated what they should do, but none dared to move first. Humanity had not fired a single shot, yet their shadow alone fractured the galaxy. A choice to make. In the mess hall, the crew sat in silence, food untouched. The engineer broke it with a hiss. If they protect us, then we must prove it. We must stand with them. Show our loyalty before the storm strikes, the navigator growled. You speak of treason. Our people will not forgive us if we kneel to humans. Vera's voice trembled, but carried truth. It is not kneeling, it is survival. The galaxy will burn whether we fight or not. At least with them we may still breathe. All eyes turned to Rinar. He bore the weight of their fear. He spoke slowly. We already chose. When we opened that pod, we chose humanity's side. All that remains is to face what follows. The words settled like heavy stones. There was no escape now, only the storm. The first contact on the 7th day, the largest ship moved. A colossal warship, black and scarred, drifted toward them. Its presence filled the view screen until stars vanished behind it. Every console shook. Every alarm screamed. The crew braced for death. Then a single transmission cut through the static. You have one human aboard. Present him. The crew turned to the survivor. He rose without fear. They do not ask. They command. Take me to the bay. Vera tried to stop him. If you go, they may kill us after. The human looked at her, his eyes sharp but not unkind. They will not kill you, not yet. You carry the mark of mercy. That is more valuable than blood. The bay, the airlock opened with a roar. The human stepped forward as the crew watched from behind the safety glass. A beam of light from the warship swallowed him. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the beam faded, and the human was gone. The crew trembled. Had they lost him? Was judgment about to fall? Rinar stood firm, his heart pounding. Wait, the storm breaks hours passed. The human did not return. The fleet outside grew restless. Shadows shifted. Ships moved into formation, circling the system like wolves closing on prey. Finally, the warship spoke again. Your mercy has been noted. Stand down. Await judgment. The channel went dead. The crew collapsed into their chairs, trembling with both relief and dread. They had not been destroyed. But what did judgment mean? Rinar stared at the endless shadows outside. He had no answer. Only one truth remained. The storm was here, and the galaxy would never know silence again. The warship returned him. The human survivor stepped back into the bay of the Valan's Hope, his body whole, his eyes blazing like fire. He had been gone for hours, swallowed by the giant vessel of his kind, and the alien crew feared he would never return. But now he stood before them, changed. His voice was steady, sharp as steel. They know who you are. They know what you did. Now comes the test. The crew felt the blood drain from their faces. The storm outside had grown. More ships filled the system every hour. Now the judgment of an entire species rested on the fragile choice they had made weeks ago, whether to save one dying human or let him perish. The crew reacts. Captain Reinar met the survivor's gaze.
What test?
The human looked at each of them in turn, his stare piercing, his words heavy. Humanity does not return to speak. Humanity returns to decide. They will measure your act. They will weigh it against the blood that was spilled when others betrayed us. And then they will act. If mercy outweighs betrayal, you live. If not, you burn with the rest. The medic, Vera, clutched her chest. We saved you. Is that not enough? The human tilted his head. Enough for me. But humanity is not one voice. It is many. You must prove to them what I already know. Fear filled the chamber. None of them knew what such a test would mean. The call hours later, the warship hailed them again. Its voice filled every corridor. Prepare for transfer. The crew of the Valan's Hope will stand before the Council of Return. The ship shook as beams of light surrounded it. For a moment, the crew felt as if they were weightless, torn from reality. When the light faded, they were no longer drifting in space. They floated within the heart of a colossal human vessel. Black walls stretched into the distance. Lights glowed like eyes in the dark. And before them, a platform rose. Step forward, the voice commanded. Reinar led his crew out, every step heavy with dread. The human survivor walked beside them, his face calm, as if he already knew the outcome. The platform lit up. Figures appeared above them, holograms of humans. Dozens of faces, some scarred, some cold, all burning with the same fierce light. Their voices spoke as one. You carry the survivor. You opened his pod. You chose mercy when others chose silence. Why? The question echoed like thunder. Reinar stood tall, though fear gnawed at his chest. Because he was alive. Because leaving him to die would have made us less than what we claimed to be. No matter who he was, we could not abandon him. The faces studied him. Silence stretched. Then one voice spoke. Mercy is rare, but so is honesty. You will be judged. Another face leaned forward. Tell us this. Did you fear what saving him might bring? Yes, Reinar admitted. We feared. We still fear. But we did not let fear guide us, the council murmured among themselves. The survivor speaks, then the survivor stepped forward. His voice cut through the chamber. They speak truth. I would be dust if not for them. They gave me air when none owed me life. They are no enemy. They are proof. The council fell silent. Every human face turned toward him. You stand as beacon, one said. Your words carry weight. Do you swear this crew is worthy of mercy? The survivor's eyes burned. I swear. They are the reason you hear me now. Without them, the tide would not have risen. A long silence followed. The crew held their breath. The test revealed. Finally, the voices spoke again. Mercy given must be tested by mercy shown. If you wish to live under the shield of your act, then show us how you treat others when fear holds your throat. The platform shifted. A second group appeared. Bound, beaten, dragged into the chamber by armored humans, alien prisoners, enemies of humanity, races that had hunted humans long ago. The council's voices thundered. Here are those who once rejoiced at our fall. You may decide their fate. Kill them and prove you fear us more than you honor mercy. Spare them and prove you value the choice that brought you here. Choose. The Valan's Hope crew froze. The prisoners stared at them with hatred and terror. It was a trap, a test. A single decision would decide whether the humans saw them as allies or as nothing. Division, the engineer hissed. We cannot spare them. If we let them live, humans will think us weak, the navigator growled. No, if we kill them, we prove nothing but fear. They will destroy us for betraying mercy. Vera's voice shook. We saved one. We must save again. That is the path, the crew argued, voices clashing in panic. At last, all eyes turned to Reinar. The choice was his. He stepped forward, claws tight, heart pounding. His voice rang clear. We will not kill them. Mercy brought us here. Mercy must guide us still. Judgment. The council was silent. Then slowly, one by one, the human faces nodded. You chose as you began. You chose as we remember. Mercy over fear. That is the test. The bound prisoners were pulled away. The crew trembled, waiting for the verdict. The voices rose as one. Your choice is marked. Your names are carried. When the storm falls, you will stand under our shield. The galaxy will know you as saviors of one, and therefore of many. The light dimmed, the chamber shook, and in an instant the crew was back aboard the Valan's Hope. Aftermath silence filled the ship. No one moved, no one spoke. They had been judged and spared. The human survivor looked at them, his eyes softer than before. You chose well. Now you live with the weight of it. Remember this: mercy saves, but mercy also binds. From this day you are tied to us. When humanity rises, you rise beside us. The crew could not answer. Their throats were dry, their hearts pounding. But deep inside they knew one truth: the storm was not only coming. It had already begun. The sky burned. Every world that had once turned its back on humanity now saw the shadows of human warships blotting out their suns. Entire fleets rushed to defend, but their weapons fell useless against the storm that had come. No warnings, no negotiations, only silence. And then fire. The reckoning had begun. The first strike from the bridge of the Valan's Hope, Captain Rhynar and his crew watched through trembling eyes. Human fleets moved with terrifying precision, cutting across the stars like knives. One alien stronghold sent out 50 warships to resist. Within minutes, the fleet was dust. No wreckage, no survivors, only silence where life had been, the medic Vera whispered in horror. They do not fight wars. They end them, the engineer hissed, claws scratching the console. This is no war. This is judgment. The human survivor stood at the center of the deck. His face carried no fear, no hesitation. His voice was steady, almost cold. They spared you because you spared me. Do not forget that. What you see now is the price others must pay for choosing differently. Messages across the stars, every channel lit with desperate cries. Worlds begged for mercy. Leaders shouted into the void, offering surrender, offering tribute. But the human fleets did not answer. They moved like a tide, swallowing resistance, sweeping away fleets that had once ruled the galaxy. The navigator's voice cracked. They are not even speaking to them. They give no chance to kneel. The survivor's eyes glowed with grim fire. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity remembers. Those who cheered our fall now learn what it means to face us risen. The Council's will, the Valan's Hope, was summoned again, not by a single warship, but by the united fleet. A projection filled the entire chamber, showing the Council of Return. Their voices thundered. The storm spreads. Judgment falls. But not all are guilty. Not all deserve fire. You who chose mercy will now see the weight of your choice. New images filled the screens. Cities burning, worlds shattering under bombardment, but also colonies spared, those who had once sheltered humans in secret, those who had not turned them away. For every betrayal, the Council said, there is also a hand that offered shelter. They will live. The rest will learn final silence. The crew's struggle. Rhynar gripped the railing, his claws digging into the metal. His voice trembled. You destroy whole worlds without pause. Is this justice or is it vengeance? The human survivor turned to him, fire blazing in his eyes. It is both. Justice for the forgotten, vengeance for the betrayed. You cannot separate them. Vera's hands shook. But children live on those worlds, innocents. Do they deserve this? The survivor's gaze softened, but only slightly. Innocence dies when silence rules. Where were their voices when we were hunted? Where was their mercy? The crew fell into silence. They could not answer. The first saved world days. Later, the Valan's Hope was escorted to a small planet near the rim. The fleet did not fire upon it. Instead, ships descended to shield it. Confused, the crew asked why. The Council answered, this world gave us shelter. When others hunted us, these people hid us. They risked death to keep our children alive. For them, the storm does not fall. For them, we build a wall of fire. On the surface, aliens gathered in tears as the black ships filled their skies, not to burn, but to protect. Rynar's chest tightened. So mercy is rewarded, just as it is tested, the survivor nodded. Mercy given once spreads farther than fear. You chose it. They chose it. That is why you still breathe. The broken alliances across the galaxy, empires began to collapse. Allies turned on each other, each desperate to prove they had shown mercy to humans in the past. Ancient treaties crumbled, armies scattered, and everywhere the shadows of human warships hung above them, deciding which would live and which would burn. The navigator's voice shook. They are not just winning a war. They are tearing the galaxy apart without firing half their weapons. The survivor gave a grim smile. This is what you never understood. Humanity does not conquer. Humanity endures, and endurance breaks empires. The reckoning nears. The Valen's hope received one final order. They were to witness the fall of the greatest betrayer, the empire that had led the charge against humanity long ago. When the fleet arrived, the crew gasped. The betrayer's homeworld filled the screen, a jewel of light and towers. Its skies swarmed with fleets, thousands of ships ready to defend. The human armada did not hesitate. The first strike split the void with fire. Entire formations vanished in seconds. Defense lines broke. Planetary shields shattered. Vera wept. An entire world gone. Reiner forced himself to watch. His voice was heavy. This is the storm's heart. This is what judgment looks like. The survivor stood tall, his expression unshaken. And it will not stop until every shadow of betrayal is burned away. The moment of doubt, when the last defenses crumbled, the council spoke again. This world betrayed us. Their fleets hunted us. Their leaders sold us. They will fall. But one question remains. Do the innocent fall with them? The chamber filled with silence. The council turned its gaze to the survivor. You speak for them. You lived because mercy was shown. Tell us now, do we erase them all, or do we spare those who carry no blood on their hands? For the first time, the survivor hesitated. His jaw tightened. His eyes closed. The crew held their breath. His answer would decide the fate of billions. The survivor's answer at last, he spoke. His voice shook the air. Mercy must live, or we are no better than the silence we despise. Strike down the guilty, but shield the innocent. Let the storm be feared, but let mercy be remembered. The council was silent. Then slowly, one by one, the human faces nodded. The storm will not kill all, but it will never be forgotten. The order went out. Precision strikes tore through military zones, burning the Empire's power, but leaving civilians alive. Their towers stood, but their rule was ash, aftermath. The Valen's hope drifted in silence as the smoke cleared. Entire fleets were gone. Empires broken. The galaxy had changed forever. Renar stared at the human survivor, his voice low. You chose mercy again. Even when vengeance called, the survivor met his gaze. Because I remember your choice. One act of mercy saved me, and now it saves them. That is the bond between us. That is the reckoning. The crew sat in silence, the weight of it pressing on their hearts. The galaxy united at last, not in peace, but in terror. From the burning ruins of empires came a single desperate alliance, forged from enemies who once hated each other more than they feared anything else. Now they feared only one name: humanity. Their fleets gathered at the edge of the Orion Rift, millions of ships drawn from dozens of worlds. It was the largest armada ever seen in the stars. Their leaders swore this would be the stand that broke the storm. This would be the line that humanity could not cross. The humans came anyway, and they came without fear. The gathering, the Valen's hope, was dragged along by escorts of human warships. Forced to watch history unfold, Renar stood at the command deck, his eyes wide as the alien alliance filled the screens. Thousands of ships stretched across the void in endless ranks. The navigator whispered, his voice cracking. So many, more than I can count. Perhaps even they cannot win against this. The human survivor shook his head. His voice was calm, cold. They do not count numbers. They do not measure odds. They know only this truth: the storm does not break. The storm breaks everything else. The crew fell silent. The first clash, the alien alliance moved first. Waves of warships surged forward, energy beams tearing across the void. Explosions lit the black as fire rained on the approaching humans, but the human fleet did not scatter. It cut through the attack like a blade, black ships vanishing into the fire and reappearing behind enemy lines. One by one, the Alliance ships burst into flame. Vera covered her mouth in horror. They are outnumbered 100 to 1. Yet they move like hunters among prey, the engineer hissed, claws digging into the console. This is not war. This is slaughter. The survivor's eyes blazed with fire. This is the last stand, and it is not ours. It is theirs. The Alliance's desperation hours turned into days. The battle raged across the rift, each side throwing everything they had. For the first time, human ships began to fall. For the first time, the storm met resistance strong enough to hold. The Alliance broadcast their triumph across every channel. Their voices rose in desperate hope. They bleed. They can be stopped. Rina felt his heart pound. Could it be true? Could they hold? The survivor shook his head, his tone sharp. They hold nothing. They only delay. The storm has not yet broken. The hidden weapon, then came the moment. The human fleet shifted, drawing back as if retreating. The Alliance roared in triumph and surged forward, desperate to crush them, but retreat was not what it seemed. From the shadows of the rift emerged something larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. A single warship, vast as a continent, its surface glowing with scars of ancient battles. It moved slowly, but its presence bent the light of stars. The Alliance froze. Panic spread through their ranks. Their greatest armada suddenly felt small, fragile, powerless. Vera whispered, her voice shaking. "What is that?" The survivor bowed his head. His voice was reverent. "The heart of humanity, the last forge, built in silence while the galaxy forgot us. It is not a ship. It is a verdict. The breaking, the heart fired once. A beam of light tore across the rift, swallowing hundreds of ships in a single breath. The Alliance tried to scatter, but the storm was already upon them. Human fleets surged forward again, now shielded by their colossal vessel. One by one, the Alliance formations shattered. Their numbers meant nothing. Their unity meant nothing. Against the storm they were dust. Reinar gripped the railing, claws trembling. "This is the end of everything." The survivor's eyes glowed like fire. "No, this is the beginning. The galaxy ends, so that it can rise again under judgment." The choice, again, when the battle was nearly won. The Council of Return appeared once more on the Valan's hope. Their voices thundered. The Alliance is broken. Their leaders beg for mercy. Once more the question falls to you. Do we erase them all, or do we let some survive? The crew froze. The same test, now on the greatest scale of all. The engineer snarled. "We must finish them. If they live, they will rise again. End them now." Vera's voice trembled. "If we kill them all, then mercy dies. And if mercy dies, what is left of justice?" All eyes turned to Reinar. His heart pounded. His voice was heavy. "We chose mercy before. We must choose it again. If not, we are no better than those who turned their backs." The survivor stepped forward. His voice was clear. "I agree. Spare them. Burn their fleets. Crush their power, but leave them breath. Let them remember that they live because mercy still exists." The verdict, the council studied them. Then their voices rose as one. "So it will be. They will live broken and humbled, but they will live under the shadow of what they have seen. Let the galaxy know this truth. The storm can destroy, but it can also spare. That is the greater power. The command was given. The heart of humanity silenced its weapons. The remaining fleets of the Alliance scattered into the void, broken, leaderless, but alive. The storm withdrew, leaving fire in its wake, but not ashes. Aftermath of the stand silence fell across the stars. Worlds burned. Empires shattered, but a handful of voices survived, carrying the memory of what had come. The Valan's hope floated among the wreckage, its crew trembling. Reinar stared at the survivor, his voice low. "They chose again. They could have ended everything, but they chose mercy. Because of us." The survivor nodded. His voice was heavy but steady. "Because you proved it could exist. One act of mercy changed the path of the storm. Never forget that. The galaxy will not, Vera closed her eyes, tears on her cheeks. Then perhaps there is hope. Even in all this fire, perhaps hope still lives. The survivor's gaze turned to the stars. His voice was quiet, but filled with power. Hope lives because humanity lives. And now the galaxy knows what it means when humanity returns. The storm was over, but silence was worse. Across the galaxy, fires still burned. Ships drifted as broken shells. Planets smoldered in the dark. The great fleets that once ruled the stars were gone, scattered or destroyed. And yet no one cheered. No one celebrated. Every surviving world looked to the void with the same question: what will humanity do next? The return to silence. The human fleet did not press forward. It did not conquer or occupy. After the last stand, their ships spread out, holding their ground, but not advancing. They lingered in silence, watching. The Valan's Hope drifted among them, still under escort, still marked as the ship that had saved one human. Its crew moved carefully, their nerves raw. Each day felt like standing on the edge of a blade, Vera whispered, as she stared at the endless black hulls outside. They could take everything now. Nothing could stop them. But they wait. Reinar's claws tapped the railing. His voice was heavy. Waiting is worse than war. The galaxy burns with questions, and they give no answers. The human survivor stood at the center of the deck, his expression unreadable. They wait because silence is stronger than fire. The galaxy will speak for them now. Every world will wonder if mercy is enough to survive. The Council's message, then after long weeks, the Council of Return spoke again. Every channel, every world, every surviving fleet received the same broadcast. The human faces filled the skies. Their voices thundered like storms. We have returned. We have shown our judgment. We have destroyed those who betrayed us. We have spared those who offered mercy. This is the law of the storm. As you treat humanity, so shall you be treated. The message burned across every star system. Worlds trembled. Leaders fell silent. The council ended with a final warning. The storm rests, but it does not sleep. Remember this. If mercy fades, the storm will rise again. The broadcast cut, leaving the galaxy in silence once more. The weight of survival, the Valan's Hope crew sat in their mess hall, listening to the echoes of the broadcast. The engineer slammed his claws on the table. So this is it. We are alive, but the galaxy lives in fear. No empire remains, only shadows and silence. Vera lowered her head. Fear may keep the peace, but fear is not enough. Without hope, the galaxy will fall again, the navigator spat. And you think hope will grow under the shadow of those ships? Reinar raised his voice. Enough. We were tested. We were spared. That means we have a duty now. If the galaxy is broken, then someone must remind it what mercy looks like. Someone must show that the storm can change more than it destroys. The room fell silent. For the first time since the storm began, hope flickered among them. The survivor's revelation later, Reinar found the human survivor standing at the viewing glass, staring at the endless fleets outside. You are quiet, Reinar said. The survivor's voice was low. Because I know what comes next. Humanity will not stay in the shadows forever. They will rise not to burn but to lead. The galaxy must choose whether to follow them willingly or to wait for the storm again. Reinar studied him. And what of you? What will you do? The human's eyes softened, but his words carried iron. I will walk both paths. With you, who showed mercy, and with them who bring judgment. Between fire and mercy, someone must remind them what balance means. Across the stars, the weeks turned to months. Slowly, ships began to move again. Broken colonies rebuilt. Survivors gathered into new alliances, smaller, quieter, cautious, not to draw the storm's wrath. On some worlds, people spoke of humanity as monsters, on others as saviors. But everywhere their shadow loomed. No one dared forget the lesson. The council spoke only rarely, but its message was always the same. Mercy given is mercy earned. Silence broken is silence destroyed. The galaxy learned to live by that rule. The seeds of change. On one distant colony, refugees gathered to survive. The Valan's Hope landed there, carrying supplies and healing hands. The crew worked side by side with survivors, rebuilding cities, sharing food. At first, the aliens feared them. They whispered that the crew had walked with humans, that the storm would follow them. But when they saw Reinar's crew feed the hungry and shelter the lost, the whispers changed. Fear turned to gratitude. Gratitude turned to trust. Vera treated the sick. The engineer repaired broken homes. The navigator guided lost ships. And always, the survivor walked among them speaking simple words. They spared me. We spared them. That is why we are alive. That is why you must learn mercy too. The seeds of something new began to grow. The council returns. Months later, the council summoned the Valen's hope once more. This time, their message was different. You have lived under mercy. You have shown mercy. Now we ask this. Will you carry the storm's law to others? Will you remind them that mercy is stronger than silence? Reinar bowed his head. His crew stood beside him. The survivor stood at his side. We will, Reinar said. We chose mercy once, and we will choose it again. Let the galaxy remember that not all storms destroy. Some storms bring rain to broken soil. The council's faces softened. For the first time, their voices did not thunder. They spoke with something close to warmth. Then you will not only survive, you will help shape the new dawn. The new dawn. The storm did not vanish, but it changed. Human fleets remained, their shadows vast across the stars. But they no longer struck without cause. They no longer burned without reason. Instead, they watched. They guarded. They judged. And in their silence, mercy began to grow. Across the galaxy, whispers of rebellion turned into whispers of peace. Not because of fear alone, but because of hope. Hope that the storm could be more than fire. The Valen's hope became a symbol. A single ship, small and fragile, yet remembered for the act that changed everything. The crew who chose mercy became legends, and the survivor, who once drifted alone in a frozen pod, became the voice that carried both fire and mercy into the new age. The closing words. The ship drifted among the stars. The survivor stood once more at the viewing glass. Reinar joined him. Do you think the storm is truly over? Reinar asked. The survivor's eyes glowed with quiet fire. No, storms never end. They change. Sometimes they bring fire. Sometimes they bring rain. What matters is how we stand in them. You chose mercy, and because of that, the galaxy has a chance. That is the new dawn. Reinar's chest tightened, but hope filled him at last. He nodded. Then we will guard it. Whatever comes next, we will guard it. The survivor smiled faintly, his gaze on the endless black. Then humanity will not stand alone, and the galaxy will never forget what one choice can do. The stars stretched before them, vast and endless, and in their light, a new dawn rose.